at few things together, and there is a common factor in everything that was said on Sunday. And I will run through some of the things that I jot down and how personally how it affects me. The first thing, when Momiyat began to talk about emergence, she said something about the fact that there is a gap between election and emergence. We all heard that. And she was trying to answer the fact that how did David fill the gap? She made mention of skill, running errand, and then she made mention of the fact that of timing. And she talks also about what can keep us from emerging. She mentioned few things like fear, poor human relation, lack of skill. I added this, of course, lack of understanding of times or not discerning. Then, not giving to errands or service now. Then, poor growth plan. Then when Pastor came, Pastor began to say to us that if we must move from election to emergence, we must be an extra mile person, doing more than is required of us. This also talks about service. And then, of course, service has come up from what Ms. Mommy Ajiboye shared with us. Service or running an errand is giving yourself to service. And then Pastor profile for us 5 thoughts. Now, the first thought, learn how to develop yourself and build yourself around a purpose that is bigger than yourself and your circumstances. For me, that is also service. Learn how to develop yourself and build yourself around a purpose that is bigger than you, than yourself and your circumstances. And why did I say this is also service? When you think of building yourself as around something that is bigger than you, now you are not looking at just satisfying yourself, just getting personal fulfillment. Are you getting me? You are looking beyond, how do I solve somebody's problem? How do I make somebody happy? How do I help that person or that man or woman in this situation or that situation? That is what you are thinking about. You are not thinking about yourself. You are thinking of giving up yourself to the service of others. Then, he also said, locate a platform where you can become a blessing to humanity. That is also service. Becoming a blessing to people. Then he said, what is the one thing in life you want to do if you are asked? That's talking about purpose. What is one thing? Now, as we are seated, we can reframe it this way. If you have all the money that you think you can think of in life, what is one thing that you can do for yourself? What is one thing that you want to do? You'll be able to answer that, and by the time you begin to respond to such questions, sometimes some of the some of the things that will bring us into emergence are simple questions like this, that when we ask ourselves and we are genuine in answering them, we will see ourselves in its clarity. Somebody said that unless you first know your values, you cannot begin to set goals. You must first know your values. If they wake you up any point in time and say, can you tell me 2, 3, 4 of your values? But Samson, can you try? What are your values? Integrity, courage, and service. Thank you. Integrity, courage, and service. Pastor Shola, adventure. Okay. Now for me, if you wake me up anytime, and there is, when you talk about one thing that you want to do, like he mentioned 3, and I believe that for every one of us we have more than one value. You understand? If you have not asked yourself that critical questions about your values, what you value, God forbid that one might have to be struggling in life. And when you have your values, you understand, stated out, you can then identify one that everybody can actually see. People don't need to probe into you. They can just see you demonstrate that. For me, when I look at myself and I look at my values, one of my key values is service. Service. I do it consciously, unconsciously. And do you know one thing is that people have told me, I've done things that people have told me, hey, this thing that you are doing, it will like this, they will like this. You know, when I'm traveling, I can see policemen and just pick them. And when I'm talking, I pick a policeman, people tell me, you pick a policeman, those people are dangerous, so they can drop something in your vehicle and they will call police in the front that they should stop you and shout. I said, some people will tell me, you just carry people, do you know the person? I don't know the person, I don't have to know him. I carry the person. Where are you going? Can I push you forward? And somebody is telling me that, what if they rob you and collect the vehicle from you? That is the way. I told the person, I said, that's the way. It is God's will. God want that way. If God allow it to happen that way, then He will provide something better. And I've never experienced anything of such. So why should I stop? You know, when I was growing up, when I first came to Abeokuta here, and we are going from Isalekbe to main campus there, you know, the bus used to pick people from Ashero there, very close to the garage, Ashero garage there. You know, by the time I would get there, and this was my first time of coming to PS, by the time I was going to get there, the last bus was just leaving, and I don't have much on me. You know, I planned that, okay, once I enter the bus, 10 naira to school, 10 naira back, then I can get to town, to my house. And the bus was just leaving. And I was like, how do I get to main campus? What I wanted to go and do is very important. How do I get there? While I was standing on the roadside, some students also that missed the bus were also standing. And somebody with a nice Toyota Corolla just came and parked and picked the 4 of us. Wow. And I was like, is this person, you know, prior to that weekend, it was on a Monday, prior to that weekend, I had 3 stories that scared me. And I made up my mind that I'm not going to help people again. You know, I had stories of somebody trying to help someone, an elderly woman that is calling somebody to help him carry a load and put it on his head. And as the person tried to carry the load, the 2 of them disappeared. And I was like, somebody, in fact, I heard that, I think, was that on Kola Olawi? No. Kola Olawi now said something that Friday one of my cousins just came to visit me that day, and he was sharing a life experience on their streets, and I was scared. 3 stories at the same time. I said, I'm not going to help. On getting to that road, that man picked us without us asking, and he was taking us. I was like, UNAP was a far journey then. So you are going. Will he turn to UNAP? Will he be taking us away? What is going to happen? And he turned. We got to camp, he turned. And I was like, this man is serious. He's taking us to UNAP. Truly. And we got to UNAP. We got down. I was like, wow. As I stepped down from that car, I said, no, I will continue to help. If somebody can render such a help like this, for me, I can't stop helping. But some people will look at, because of fear of that somebody has created around you, you decided to push you decided not to live your values. Like for integrity, when you walk in the midst of people who doesn't have such values, you will look different. And if you don't reaffirm to yourself again and again these values of yourself, you will miss it. You can join them. Now, so what am I saying in essence is that as individual, for you to be able to discover a purpose that you are going to live for, you must know what your values are. You must know what your values are. If you don't know your values, it will be difficult to actually find a purpose to live around. So what am I saying? I said there is a common denominator that I quickly want us to look at within the short period of time. Pastor also said, in every journey of life, there is a route or road to the place. What is one thing you must do consistently that will take you to your destination? That's one thing that you must do that will take you to your destination will not be far from your values. It will not be far from your value if you know your values very well. And he said shortcut can only cut someone's short. Go through the process. That's talking about the process, and that's the gap that Mommy Yad was also talking about between election and the emergence. There is a gap. And then he also said, in your life, your today must be better than your yesterday. And that is talking about your growth plan or your self-development plan. Now, on that, one of the things that I also discovered is that, and that I have made up my mind that will not happen to me any longer, is that growth will not happen to me. Because I have developed a growth plan for myself that I will consistently follow. I will develop myself, I will grow myself on daily basis. For several of us, because of the kind of society that we find ourselves, the kind of education background that we had, growth happens to us. It was not a design of ourselves. We just go through life, and things happens to us, and comes as a challenge to us because we are not deliberate about our growth. We are not deliberate about our growth. And as Christian, one of the things, just like I don't know, she was just saying anything like that, the Holy Spirit is given to us to help us to profit in our life journey. It gives us an edge above every of our contemporary. I want to quickly look at the 5 levels of service that I saw in Joseph, and some of them I also found in David, and that we will find ourselves in talking about trying to relate it with growth, how we are supposed to be deliberate about our growth as individual. Like I was talking the other time that about productive development. It is your duty and my duty to find myself. It is your duty to find yourself. It is my duty to find myself. I look back into my life and I look at my childhood upbringing. I look at my primary education experience. I look at my secondary education experience, and I look at my tertiary education experience. And I found out that it was not a design by me. Some of the things that happens to me in all of those places were not a design by me. Some of them, having been able to evaluate, I've been able to discover certain things about myself that made me to conclude about my values. My childhood upbringing as a primary school student, when I was about to cross, as primary school we are just, whether exam is coming or not, nobody is telling you read. You understand? Even when they are telling you read. My father used to tell us read. Once he's not at home, we are out playing ball. And exam is tomorrow. You understand? We are out playing ball because we know that when we come to the exam, we will just write whatever. You understand? Now, from that point, I went into secondary school. And the kind of secondary school I went to was a kind of sophisticated one that you have people who attend private schools, who are even boarding students in their primary school. And they have a system for them that ensure that they go to classes every night to review what they are taught. So this one, when we come into the same terrain with such a people, you see them, they go to classes. When they finish lecture, they are reading. But once you finish lecture, you have period, what are you doing? You are playing everywhere. If there is ball, you go and play. If there is anything, we have a lot of sports facility in my school. You can go and do anything. But you see some of these people, they are reading. They are reviewing some of the things that they have been taught in class. And some of them are excelling. Why? Myself as a person that was one of the best students in my primary school came into that environment because of lack of understanding or lack of preparation, or because it was not lack of preparation or a guide. I just come into that environment. I was just living my life anyhow. You understand? Still thinking that I'm still relating with my secondary school education as if I'm in my primary school. And before you know it, you are not doing well in certain courses, subjects. Before you know it, you cannot find yourself among the top people in the class. When we did the common entrance, my name came out number 12. Position number 12 among all the people. By the time we did the interview, my name came out on the 5th. So I shouldn't be anywhere above 10th position in the whole of that level. But I could not place myself. And before you know it, I found myself in the middle of some not serious students. And before I know it, I've been taken off course. Whereas my parents were thinking that this boy is doing fine, is in school most of the time. When I'm outside school playing all kinds of manner of games and gambling. What am I saying in essence? That development was not a deliberate one. There was not a guide. Nobody is guiding it into such arena, new environments. And in the same way, transition happened to each and every one of us day in, day out. If you have a job now, do you have an exit plan? Do you have an exit plan from that job? You don't. Most of us don't. We don't. We don't think that we are going to leave that job tomorrow or one day. Even if you are going to spend 35 years and you know that at the end of 35 years you are going to leave that place, what will you be doing thereafter? So we are not looking at those things. We are not deliberate about those areas of our life that we needed growth. It is a transition for us to leave our home to come here. And such transition take place again and again. If we are not deliberate about reflecting on our life, we will just be living life like that. And think life, how do I put it? Do I say life will be happening to us? Yes, life will happen to us. Growth will happen to us. You can imagine in my final year, we had a session, final year student, and they are asking a final year student, what's your plan after graduation? He said, I don't know. Whatever my parents decide that I will do, that's what I will do. I was like, that person took me aback. And do you know one thing I did was that I watched that person. And I was watching the person. It took a long time. I don't know if he's married now. Because his life is designed by somebody else. You know, as a secondary school student, when I finished school, I was staying with my brother, and I thought that, my brother has a lot of graduate friends, undergraduate friends, those that are in the university. Some of them have graduated, and I felt that, my brother can always help me talk to these people to help me look for admission. So I was just pleasuring in their house, eating and drinking, watching television, going out to play table tennis and all the likes. First year went, wow. The second year went, wow. My brother was not saying anything. And one day he just came. You know, why 2 years have gone? He said, he just came one day, he said, you just sit down there and be eating eba every day. Come on, the person that finished school after you has gotten admission. You sit down here. And my brain just opened that, what's wrong with? This is the person that I was expecting to actually help. And he was not going to do. Do you know that from that moment, I began to look for admission for myself, and I got it. I got it. Without his help at all. And in the same manner, that's how many of us, we hand over our life to people. One of the things that I saw about David, about Joseph, was this thing. Joseph, when he was in the service of interpreting, let me just roll out. Look at those things. Now, since I've gotten there, I should just look at it. I said there are 5 levels of services here. But this one that I'm about to talk about is talking about, is he? Okay. That's Genesis 39. Genesis 39, I think 19 to, yes, Genesis 39, verse 19. Are we there? Genesis 29, verse 19. So it was when the master heard the words which his wife spoke to him, saying, your servant did to me after this manner, that his anger arose. Then Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined. And he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him mercy, and he gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatever they did there, it was his doing. This is a kind of service that David is given here, and I call it here circumstantial service. Circumstantial service. The same thing happened to David. 1 Samuel 17 to 30. Circumstantial service. In 1 Samuel 17, David was sent by his father to go and do what? To take grocery to his brother in the camp. And on getting there, he saw Goliath. That was not the reason why he was sent there. By the time he saw Goliath and he felt that I can handle this man that is terrorizing everybody here. You understand? That is, he was ready to render a service that is not the reason why he was in that place. In like manner, Joseph in the prison has a prison warder that is supposed to coordinate the activities of the prisoner. But he handed over. That was also circumstantial. It was not his duty. You understand? And he was doing this. While he was doing this, they brought two men into the same prison with him. And by the time they brought these two men, Joseph progressed from that circumstantial service to what I call positional service. And how did that happen in the passage? If you read well, the moment they brought the two servants of Pharaoh, butler and the baker, into the prison, the Bible says that the prison keeper, guard, puts them in the same prison with Joseph. And the Bible says that Joseph served those guys. What did I saw certain things there. The first thing is that these two guys were serving the highest rank man in Egypt. And Joseph understood that. He knows that. The keeper of the guard also know that these are top officials in the city. They cannot just be muddled with other prisoners. So he kept them aside. And of course, by the time he put them in the same house with Joseph, Joseph recognized the fact that these are my senior. They are not, of course, they are in the prison, just as I'm here. These are senior officers that require my service, and he was serving them. That I call positional service. And these five levels of service that I identify in the life of Joseph and David are services that we will go through as individual in life. The first one is the service of sonship. The service of sonship may have to do with your biological family. It may have to do with a group or a church like this. If you see yourself as a son of the house, there are certain things that they need not to tell you to do. And one of the things that happens and that brought David and Joseph into trouble with his brother is the fact that there was a time that Joseph was in the midst of his brother, and he was asked to go and he was in their midst. He saw that some of them were doing bad things, and he brought report to his father. By the time he brought that report to his father, of course, the Bible did not record what the father said to those guys. But as a result of that, they started hating Joseph. Now, the father saw the errand that the father saw him go and read very well in that same verse. The second time that he said, go to Shechem Go, your brothers have gone to Shechem. Go and look for them and bring me news, reports about what is happening. His father has turned into, how do I put it? Okay, maybe EFCC. So go and find reports and bring report to him about his brother. And Joseph, of course, innocently went on that journey. And you and I know what became of Joseph thereafter. In the course of us doing, let me bring it to a family setting. If you are a child that is productive to your parents, your father or your mother, there is tendency that they will love you, they will show some favor more than the rest. That's certain. When I was growing up, as that came to me now, when I go to school, I come home with first. My father is proud of me and is making boast. When my other brothers and sisters go to school and they did not do well, he will beat them seriously. But me, he will take me out to go and buy things, new things for me every at the end of every time. He will take me out to go and buy things for me, and I become a beloved of my father. But somehow that was causing something else in the heart of some of my brothers. That is the kind of situation that Joseph finds himself. When you are in the course of sonship service, known to you, unknown to you, whether you offend any man or not, you are going to have such consequences, challenges. People will hate you for no just cause. And that must not stop you from still dispensing yourself in the service of others. Another thing that I saw there, I was talking about circumstantial service that David and Joseph also found themselves in the course of serving. There is another one. Okay, now the second one is you can be an employee. This service, what is bringing this service to you is your skill, is your qualification that is bringing that service to you. Now, and one of the things that must differentiate us as Christians is that the grace of God must be visible on us, just as it is in the life. If you read all those stories about Joseph, you will see that the grace of God was always with him. The grace of God was found in him, and that grace was the one that was actually exemplifying him. And how does that grace work was what the first statement that Pastor made, that if you must move from election to emergency, you must be what? An extra mind person. You must not do things the way every other person is doing it. You must be different. Do you know that people work in organization, all that they are working for is their money? Once it is 4:30, it doesn't matter what is going to happen. Do you know what? There was a guy, an HR guy, when I was going to do my what's it called now? Exit interview. The moment it is 4:30 like this, okay, it was 4:30. The people that were supposed to do it, they were pushing it, and they push it to him. By the time they will push it to him, it was already around 4:15, 4:30, going to 4:30, and 4:30 is the closing period. And the guy was like, no. I said, if I'm going to fill form, I will read everything detailedly before I put anything down. And he was like, no, Mr. Myke, it's 4:30. I have to go. I cannot wait. He was just telling me, don't fill this one. Don't. He said, let me tell you, they don't use this thing. They will not look at it. Just let me go. And there are people like that. It's just working for money. It's just working for money. And such a person is a believer. How did the Bible put it in Galatians now? is taking the grace of God for granted upon his life. I told him, I said, this thing that you are saying they don't check. In my case, they might decide to revisit this, If they come and tell me that this thing was not done properly, I will tell them you are the one. He said, don't worry, they don't check. He collected the thing and just pushed it in and he left. You understand? If we as believers have such attitude to work, how then can we emerge? How then can we emerge? It will be difficult. And there are some employees that are giving their service, they are giving their whole to the organization, not because of what they are being paid. What they are giving is more than what they are being paid. But some people will just aid them for just being an extra mile person. Said is everywhere. And they can gang up against you and just throw you out if you don't understand how to relate with the work environment politics. They will just push you out. And you'll be like, have I offended God? What am I with all that I put in? That is exactly what happened to Joseph. With all that he had put into the house of Potiphar, Potiphar saw that the grace of God was upon this guy. Before he appointed him. Before he appointed him to that office. And all of a sudden, the temptation of having to answer, of course, for some of us too, we have to go through such temptation for God to actually test what is in our hearts. Sometimes because you don't have money, you can say that this I cannot do, that I can do, that I can do. By the time money begins to come into your hands, you will now know the difference. Because the same God, like I remember, there was a brother that lost his job and he ran to the church. And pastor said we should pray for this brother he lost. And we're praying, we are fasting, and all of a sudden, job surface, and the brother disappeared from the church. Some of those times, such people will have made promises to God, and the moment the job came like this, we never saw him. I don't think I ever saw him in that ministry again till I left there. And there are people like that. That's the way they are users of God. We call those ones users of God. I think it was Pastor Bakari that was saying that there was a book by T.L. Osborne, The Man God Uses. He said we should write another version of that book. The God that man uses this day. May God help us. What am I saying? Service, I said here that, service, every one of us will find ourselves in any of these levels of service. But one thing is that the grace of God must be visible on us in the way we serve. And that's why I started by talking about serving others. The only way, in many books that I've read, in listening to people, the only way a man can actually discover himself is to give himself in the service of others. When you don't serve people, when you hoard. I used to have a friend when we were on campus. When we receive lecture like this, if there is anything he doesn't understand, if you are preparing for test, if there is anything he doesn't understand, he will come to you. He will ask you, what is this? What is that? And he will just allow you to be talking, and by the time you talk, he has gathered all the necessary information that he will add to what he already knows. He will never share anything with you. Why? Because he always wants to have an edge over everybody. And this has become his lifestyle. To the extent that he was engaged to a lady. We are now graduates. They were both looking for a job. He got an information that so place they are recruiting. Submit your CV there. My friend went to submit his CV. And he didn't tell the fiancé. And unknown to him, one way or the other, The fiancé got to know about that information. And when that one got to know, he was looking for him to collect his CB to go and to forward it there. Only for the man to say, I've submitted my CD. You know, there are people like that. Yes. There are people like that. They take from you to add to themselves and not to give you anything. Such people will always repel people from them. People that will help them, they will repel. Because when people notice that you are this kind of a person, nobody wants to relate with you. Once they sense that, oh, you are this is the kind of person that you are, they don't want to relate with you. Nobody wants to share anything with you. Do we live our life in such manner that we don't give ourselves to the service of others? The only way that you can discover yourself is, in fact, the Bible puts it that way. It said, he that must find his life must lose it. You must lose that life in the service of others. And there are a lot of examples of people who have done that and have come into their destiny, both from in the scripture and in the life. In life, in our contemporary life, there are people like that. You don't look, and one of the things that, let me read to us a quote. You must be, okay, no, not that one. He said, when you choose to hoard what you have rather than give, you become less content. And as a result, you repel both people and potential blessings. If that's how do I put it now? If that lady is not somebody that has such an open mind, you know that can put an end to that relationship. They still got married though. But that can put an end to such a relationship with another man. That you are this kind of a person, no, we can't go on. So, I said also here that for us to be able to give quality service, we must have a growth plan. We must have a growth plan. The only way that you can actually continuously giving yourself to the service of others is that you must be constantly developing yourself. When you are not developing yourself, you stop also giving out. But when you continue to develop yourself, you find something to share with somebody. You find something to always share with someone. You know, somebody called me. This is my friend. Called me. He was consulting for somebody. And that I know he will never do. He was consulting for somebody and he needed information. And he called me and was asking me questions. And I was just talking. I was just saying this, that. By the time I finished talking, himself knows that. He said, by the time we get to his stage in this, I will have to call you. I said, it will not be free at that time. Oh. This is free for you now, but it will not be free. But I know that if he's the one, he would rather want to know that person, maybe to go and meet such a fellow to get that job from him. I'm not interested. Whatever is mine will definitely come my way. So, what are we saying in essence is that we must develop ourselves to be able to give ourselves to the service of others. Then, you know, there is a saying that somebody I came across that certain Christians are also demon possessed, and this demon is not a demon from the familiar world. He said that the person was like trying to talk about the fact that when you don't give out, you are possessed with the demon of greed. You think about yourself alone. That's a demon that many of us are not familiar with, that we need to get rid of. That's why Pastor will always tell us to pray that God will deal with your heart, my heart first, before he put anything in our hand. So that when he make request of those things, it will not be difficult for you to release it. You know, let me round up with the story of Pastor Bakari that he shared. You know, Pastor was sharing some of the difficult experiences that God has actually put him through in life. You know, he said one day he was invited to US to preach several years ago, and then, of course, I think he has relocated his family to UK then. So when he got to US and he was going about those preaching, one night like that, he saw a vision. He saw a vision of a mighty house, and he saw 2 staircases within the house, and he shared it with his wife. Why he shared it with his wife? And he was thinking that what kind of a dream is this? The wife told him that he was going out to do her hair. She left, and somebody else in US, a woman, was looking for a property that she was going to buy for herself, and they went to show her somewhere. By the time she got there, she saw that by the time she stepped into that house, God told him, this is for Pastor B. And immediately he called Pastor B and said, there is a house. This is what God told me, that this house is for you. And then the woman said, where are you? He came to meet Pastor. Let me take you there. Took him there, and Pastor got to the house. He saw exactly the picture of what he saw in the dream. The 2 staircases within the house. And he was like, wow, how much is this house? Maybe this is what God is now showing me, that, oh, this is mine. And how much is this? He said, I'm going to pay $30,000. He didn't have any money. And he said that we can arrange a mortgage plan for this and that. They went and arranged the mortgage plan. But before that matured, he left the place. In one of the places that he administered, while he was there, somebody just called him and said, have you checked your account? He said, what? He said, so organization have wired $30,000 into your account. This was an answer to this thing. God was just working everything out. So he just took the money. I don't need mortgage again, and paid for the property. And having paid for the property, he told the wife, we are moving to America. And he came to Lagos. He said, God has given us a different vision now that we are moving abroad. So they were planning to go abroad. In fact, I think he traveled one time. Okay, he said he was invited another time to come and minister, having paid for the house in the US. So the hotel they took for him, I think he said he has finished ministration. By the time he stepped into that hotel, he could see the presence of God fill the room. And the moment he stepped in like this, God told him, go back to Nigeria, prophesy, pray, and preach until revival comes. That is your primary place of assignment. And he was like, God, what is it? You showed me a vision. I saw it. You made provision of the money. I pay for it. What is this that you are doing? He was troubled. He didn't know what to do. So he called the wife. Meanwhile, his wife was in the UK then. So he decided that he was still thinking on these things over the night. In the morning, he just decided to call the wife. The moment the phone rang and the wife picked it, the wife didn't allow him to talk. He just said that we are not going to the US. He said, why? He said, that is the impression I got this morning. He said, I don't need to argue about these things. And then what did he do? He said he just went back to the property seller. He said, my money, I don't want the house again. And they were wondering, what's happening to you? He said, my money, I'm going. They collected his money and he came back. And what was he trying to tell us was from linking it with what she said. You know, can you submit your agenda, your personal agenda, for the purpose of serving others, and that it is to serve God, of course. But is it possible that you have an agenda? Do you know that many of us, when we have our visions, we want people to serve our vision? Rather, we are supposed to serve the people. It is in the course of serving them that people buy into your vision. If you come up with anything, if you have not the type that is given to service, people will not. Let me just share this little experience. Sorry, I'm going to use you. Last December, what is it called now? Bellat organized clothing an African child initiative. You know, I first saw it when I read it. It was a village that I was familiar to, and I bought into that, and several other people bought into that. What am I going to bring out of this story is the fact that if we have not had any relationship in the past, it will be difficult for me to buy into what they are doing. It will be difficult. And that's where the issue of a personal relationship, where it comes in. Of course, there is no way you have a personal relationship with somebody that you will not have cause to serve that person in one way or the other. It's not going to be possible. But when you don't have interact with people, it will be difficult for you for the person to come and call on you to come and help him do one thing or the other. No. But when you have relationship with people, you will see situation around that person's life that he needs assistance, he needs help. You understand? But I just pray that God will help our generation, because we are growing up with many individualistic mindsets. You know, every one of us want to start our own. We want to own our own without serving anybody. When you don't serve, you have cut short even your own goal, your vision. When you don't serve, if you have not seen it play out the way it is being done somewhere else, you will struggle to bat it. I pray that God will help us in Jesus' name. If we are going to ever have a new encounter, fresh experience with God, then we must deliberately deviate from the way we do things the previous years. We must be deliberate about it. If we are not, I am, in the last few days, I can tell you testimonies, because I make up my mind to have encounter with God, to live differently from the way I've lived before, and constantly I'm having testimonies to share, and I pray that same will be our experience.
My heart is humble, I've heard you speak. There's no denying you're calling me to follow you, Lord, as you lead me to life, and casting aside